Hello!
Welcome back to Her Heritage.
For this week, this is a special week.
This is a very special week.
Wednesday's a special day, and it just happens to fall on Wednesday when we post our video.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about today. And so,
what is it?
What are we talking about today, Mom? I'll let you share because...
My 19th Transplantaversery. 19 years.
What is a Transplantaversery?
A Transplantaversery is the date that I had my kidney transplant. And so I celebrate it every year. It's kind of like an extra day that I get to celebrate me. Notice last month we talked about celebrating, and this
just keeps on going.
This month just never stops. Celebrating never ends. And so this month is, or the first one of June, is the Transplantaversery. And so June 6th, 1999, I had a kidney transplant. I had been on dialysis for 18 months, a little over 18 months, when my miracle came, and I had 2 calls in between there, and they both failed.
You should talk. She should talk. She's going to talk about. You have to talk about the calls. What happened each call? The first call you got. What happened?
The first call I got 1 week after my transplant. After my transplant. 1 week after I got put on the list. No, after I got put on the list, on the transplant list. I'd already been on dialysis for over a year. And then when I was put on the list for a transplant, I had 1 week and I got a phone call. We were like, oh my word, this is
miracle.
Like a miracle.
It's what we've been praying for.
You know? And when we got up there, they did all this testing on me. And let me tell you guys, the testing for a pre-transplant is horrible. It is like some of the most painful things I've ever gone through. Dialysis, same thing. It's all very, very hard. And so we get up there, they did all the testing on me, and all of a sudden they come in and they said, we can't transplant you. And we're like, why? And they said, because the kidney was fine when it left, but when it got here, it was diseased, and we can't transplant you. So the second time...
This one's really cool because it just shows God working throughout the whole thing.
And so the second time, you were turning 6.
Okay, and also another thing of how amazing she is she planned birthday parties for a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, whenever I turned both those ages. Full-on birthday parties on dialysis, which is not easy at all.
That's right. So you were getting ready to turn 6, and I was going to have... like 6 kindergartners sleep over.
Yeah. Which is a nightmare sometimes to some parents, but she was super excited even in the midst of everything.
So I was going to hook up to a dialysis machine, and the day of the party, the day before the party, next day was the party, I get a phone call that I was supposed to go, and I'm like, this is crazy, okay, but I still wanted to make sure that your party was all set. So I made grandparents pitch in and...
Yeah, but also you didn't have peace about this.
Everything. And when I got the phone call, I had a friend of mine call me and said, what do you think? And I said, I don't have a peace about it. I just don't. And she said, you go, God's going to meet you there. And when we got there, they did my temperature, and I had a fever. Crazy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And they said... we can't transplant you, you have a fever. And I'm like, I don't have a fever. And they're like, you have a fever. And I said, no, I don't have a fever. And so they did it again, and I had a fever. They said, you go back to your doctor, you have an infection somewhere in your body. And because I was doing peritoneal dialysis, which is the home dialysis, there was a chance of peritonitis, and it can make you really sick. I actually had it one time while I was on dialysis. And so I ended up coming back, and I went straight to my doctor. And when I went straight to the doctor, I walked in, and the girl looks at me, and the nurse says, and she goes, you don't have a fever. And I said, I know I don't. And she said, why not? I said, because it wasn't his time. And she said, because it wasn't his time. And I said, that's right. And I said, God's got something better for me. And it wasn't a good match. It would have been more medication and everything. So, yeah. So those are the 2 phone calls that didn't go through.
What happened when you got your kidney? When did you get your kidney?
In June of 99.
June
6th. June 6th. And so we had gone to the movies that night. You guys were being babysat because you were still little tiny munchkins. And So we go to the movies that night, and Daddy gets a phone call on his cell phone, and he ignores it because it was from Tampa. And he gets another one, and he ignores it.
And they were enjoying the movie.
We wanted to go to the movies. And so all of a sudden, Grandma and Grandpa Schrock were watching you guys because Grandma Yoder was dealing with cancer at the time. And so we ended up, Daddy goes out because they called, and he comes back in. He goes, we got to leave. They got a kidney for you.
Movie.
Oh, it was right at the beginning.
Oh,
we never
right,
did.
okay.
Yeah, we never did get to see the movie.
You got to see it later on.
Yeah, I did. It was years later. It was kind of funny. And so, are you wanting to climb up on the table, little munchkin?
You're messing up the story.
And so,
No.
we went, and we walked out, and I called, and the girl said to me, there was a perfect match across the board. The only way you get a match this good is if somebody is living related to you. And I hung up the phone, and I had a complete peace, and I looked at Eric, and said, this is it. Let's go do this. And I had my transplant, and I was home in 4 days.
That's amazing.
It was amazing.
But also, the doctor, she was out, but my dad heard a story. What did the doctor say? Because it's a training hospital. Tampa, it was in Tampa, right?
Yes.
Tampa Hospital is a training hospital, so they would go around with residents, and so they would be learning about different cases, transplanting, all that sort of stuff. So there was a guy that was training that Dad overheard. What did he say?
The doctor told the students, now this one here is a miracle. The only way you get a kidney this good is if somebody's living related to you. He said this one was a miracle. I could barely plug it in before it began producing. And which is really amazing because it had been at a 32-hour point, and they don't transplant it after an organ is harvested 36 hours later.
Yeah, and then also what he did tell you beforehand was that it wouldn't start producing until like maybe a few days later, right?
Yes.
So that it was already starting, like that just shows the Lord's hand in it all.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
It is.
So, organ donation awareness.
Yes. Organ donation.
It is.
It is. And what's so amazing about kidneys is you can actually donate a kidney without having to die to do it.
Yeah.
You can actually give a kidney to somebody who needs it. And you can give blood. I know they do the platelets and they do all kinds of different things. And find out from your from organ donation centers. LifeLink is a good one to check into because there are people out there who need them. I have a former mentor, now a friend of ours, who is in need of a kidney right now. He's on dialysis. His name is Phil Renix, and he needs a donor because they will not put him on the list. They said he's too old to be put on the list, but he can have a live donor if somebody's willing to do it. And so I put that out there because to let people know how important it is, because it is their lives. And for me, mine came from a young 18-year-old young man with a gunshot wound to the head. And so it's a sad story, but I'm so thankful that his mother was willing to say, yes, go ahead and use his organs so that people can have life.
And how many people did he save that
over
day?
60.
He
himself affected over 60 lives.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
For 60 lives.
Yeah.
That's great.
So put that little thing on your
the driver's license. Do you remember when I got my license? When I got my license, I was over there by myself, like signing up. I just passed my test and everything, and I was signing, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to be an organ donor?" I was like, "Oh yeah, like it's just an instinct in me, just because of hearing everything that Mom has said and Mom's gone through. I'm just like, yeah, like I'm gonna do that." And so I needed a parental approval though, so I had to go over and get my mom and bring her back over. I was like, "Come here," and so I was like, they were like, "Are you okay if your daughter donates? Is an organ donor?" She just started bawling right there in the DMV. Because it was such a big place in her heart. Like, I know that who started? Your great-grandma started the kidney fund?
No, my grandmother.
Your grandmother.
Your great-grandma.
So, kidney funds, like her family with
I have
organ
aunts
donation.
And uncles who've had transplants and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
It's a very special place in her heart, and she's very passionate about it. So donating in any way, like if it's, any way you can, blood, anything.
Yes.
So
that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So Yes. If you have any questions,
Yes.
feel free to ask.
And I'll also look at LifeLink's website.
We'll put those links. We need to put those links
I'll put them in the blog, so you
on
can
the
look at the blog.
on the blog, and also maybe we can put Phil Renix's information on there.
Yes,
Because
we
it
can.
would be good.
If
I'd
you
like to
feel
do
led.
that. I don't know if there's a way to put it on the video at the end, like a little video thing that you
It'll
could do
be down
that.
here.
That would be good.
Liar.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay.
Okay. So celebrate life.
week.
Celebrate life. You never know. So next week,
We're gonna talk about weddings. I'm so excited. My friend just had her wedding.
and Ashley's going to talk about all the ins and
Joys
outs.
of friendship and weddings.
Celebrating with other friends.
Celebrate with other friends.
That's nice.
Keep on celebrating.
We're just going to continue to celebrate all into June. Who
All the way
knows?
through.
July maybe too. It's 4th of July.
Just keep on going.
Okay. So we'll see you next week.
Mm-hmm.
Bye. Bye.